do my clap. Welcome to All About the Experiences. I am very excited today. We have a very special guest in the house, someone who's near and dear to my heart, and someone who has seen me before I was Cheryl Rogers, the podcast host, and had a little glimmer in my eye about being the next Oprah Winfrey. Obviously, that never happened. But with that being said, this gentleman wears a myriad of different hats. And today he's going to share with us what some of those hats are, how he got there, and where he's going. So with that being said, I would like to welcome to the All About the Experiences Living Without Limits podcast, Berwyn Keith Hutcherson. I put his whole name out there. Welcome, Berwyn. I'm so glad to have you here.
It's all good.
Look, we know what it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for blessing my platform. I am super excited to have you here. Obviously, I have followed your career for eons now, and that's not to put any dates on either one of us, but what I will say is I've seen your growth in the maturation process that has embraced you and gotten you to where you are now. So with that being said, again, welcome to the platform. And let's get into this. I always like to say, whenever I have anybody that's here on the podcast, this is very conversational. It's not only for us to reacquaint each other get reacquainted with each other, but also for my viewers and my listeners to find out about you, your experiences, and what you have on the horizon. So with that being said, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. This is a great opportunity. I appreciate you having me on. As you gave my full name, they know who I am. I'm just a creator out here, writer, director, a musician first. For those who really, really, really know me, I'm a musician first, and you know, um, you know, been married for I don't know how long now. Maybe about the same time as you, huh?
You better know. I know if your wife is anything
Yeah.
like me, you better know how many years that
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I think we got the same kind of years in the bag there.
Absolutely.
I'm a traditional family man. Traditional family values, and just so happen to love visual artistic creation, and so um, currently I'm also a part-time adjunct at Berkeley City College, teaching video production there as well. So yeah, so that's just out there trying to give back into the universe and create stories and memories for people to be able to like and to share and to experience. So yeah.
Well, one of the things that I like to, anytime I have anyone on the platform, is talk about where you are rooted in. And you and I share similar roots. I know that you are deeply rooted in your faith and in the church. And so, share a little bit about where you grew up, where you went to school. I mean, after all, I did put out your whole name, with the exception of giving out your social security number. So, share a little bit about your roots.
Yeah. I grew up in Vallejo, California. Well, actually, I was just born and raised there at Vallejo General Hospital.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I've been in Vallejo my whole life up until I got, married. Well, I was there for a little bit and then moved out. I'm in neighboring county there. I'm in the same county, but neighboring city of Fairfield. But Vallejo is still my home. It's still kind of like where I do everything at. Um, grew up. We talk about faith. I grew up in a very, very tight knit family. Like it was because my mom migrated here from Arkansas, and all of her. She's the youngest of 10, so four of
I
her.
did not know that.
Yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
my dad is like the third or fourth oldest of 15. So uh,
Okay.
yeah, so very big families, right? And so my mom moved out here. Three of her siblings were already here. Well, four of her siblings were already living out here, but three of them in the Bay Area in Vallejo, and she moved here. So that's how she got settled here, met my dad. But But my uncle had a family of 9 kids, and then I had my other aunts and who had their families too. So we were always together growing up, always, and it was spent at church. We were at each other's houses. My mom was at work, and my uncle of 9 kids, his kids would be our babysitters.
Oh,
So all of the kids would come over there, and we would be with them. And while our mothers were at work or during work hours, we would be with our cousins. So we grew up, we grew up very tight. In church, we would go to church midday. We would go to church Tuesday night. We would go to church Friday night. We would go to church Sunday night. Culture kids. You know how
oh
it is.
yeah, I know how it is.
You know
I
how
feel
it
like
is.
I spent more time at church than I did at school. So,
Yeah, yeah. So growing up, you have a lot of personalities in your family, and so I've seen a lot, witnessed a lot, experienced a lot. And as I grew up, it's funny, I didn't get into anything creative until after high school, but during high school is where I found sports. I played a lot of football. I went to Vallejo Senior High, played a lot of football since maybe I was 11, right? Pop Warner football, then high school football, then some college football. But I still hadn't found the love for music yet because I was still trying to pursue sports. And when that came to an end, then that's when I kind of started. I want to get into music. I want to start playing music. And the first person well, my mom tried to teach me when I was young, but I didn't have the patience for it. And I told my mom, I want to play like George Benson, his keyboard player. My mom was like, I don't play like that. You learn these basics and then you play. Well, I didn't have the patience to learn it then. But I went to a small black college, HBCU college in Oklahoma called Langston University, and I was there to play football.
okay.
And they had a coaching change upon my arrival. So my scholarship or in my roster spot on the football team was null and void when a new coach came in. He brought on his own people. So he
Oh,
said, you got to wait. You got to wait until and come out in the spring. And I'm like, what? It was just the most disappointing thing. But you know what, Cheryl, I've always had things my way through high school. I've never had to sit the bench. I've always been one of the premier players on my team. I was the captain of the football team. I was the guy everybody knew. And my first sign of real adversity was when I went to that school and I didn't know how to handle the disappointment and the rejection. I didn't know how to pivot. I didn't know what that looked like.
right.
And so in hindsight, I wish the was I a competitor? Yes, I was competitive, but I didn't know how to be a dog in the war because I was always winning. I
Mm.
didn't know what it was like to have to fight. I was always winning.
Well, they say winners always win, right?
Winners always
And
winning. Right. So, but my first sign of adversity was then I needed to pivot and fight through the adversity to keep winning and really go after it. And I bowed out. I was so I didn't know how to fight it. I just like I didn't know what to do. So as I'm dropping out of school, I would go to the music hall and just get on the piano. And I wasn't playing anything, but that's kind of like where my heart went to in the midst of rejection. I went to music. And upon leaving school, it was my last day of school, well, my last couple of days of school. I was at a black college, and I met the only white girl there who happened to play the piano. And she showed me some practicing notes. She says, "Hey, just practice these notes every day, and you'll learn, and you'll get it, or whatever."
okay.
And from that day, I left and I came back to California, and that's what I was doing, playing chromatic scales because this one girl, white girl, at the only black
At an all black
at
college,
all
right?
black college, show take the time to show me like just how you practice, and you just go from there. And I did that, and it was history from there as far as becoming a musician and playing. So
I love that. I know a lot of times I've heard musicians and other artists and rappers say that their first love is music, or maybe they didn't know that that was their first love. And there
mhm,
was some sort of catalyst that got them to where they're at. And it
yeah,
sounds like you being rejected, so to speak, on this other end when it came to sports, which you really, I know for a fact, were very integrated into your sports programs at school and that community, and then to go away thinking that this is what you're going to walk into and still be big man on campus, and then have this be kind of the catalyst for you to go into music is very interesting. And would you say
yeah.
that having that experience, that it builds character, as they like to say?
Oh, did it? Like that was the awakening moment. But I will pivot and say, before I move on, my whole family are gifted musicians. My mom plays and
Your
sings.
mom is amazing.
Yeah, my all my cousins, I'm perfect pitch. So if I hear a note, I can hear it a day later, 2 days later, 3 days later, and I'll go and play the exact note that I heard 4 or 5 days ago. I won't, so it was always in me. My dad used to make us practice the drums to George Benson and to all these other gospel records, Hawkins, Walter Hawkins, coming from the
Coming
Oakland.
from Oakland.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So Andre Crouch. So
Love Center.
yeah, we would play to those things. So I was very familiar with music. I just rejected it because I just wanted to play sports, but I think it was always in me. And when it came time for me to latch onto it, I'm 20 years old, 21 years old by this time.
Okay.
And I just started playing like really fast, because I think it was just always in me. So it's God gifts.
For sure.
So
For
yeah.
sure. I can remember seeing you play the piano, and I was like, and you're like, oh, I just do a little something, something. And I'm just like, no, you are definitely a natural talent, definitely gifted in so many areas. But I believe that I started off with saying that you were rooted in your faith, and your family and your church family have circled around you as well.
Yeah.
But I also feel like a lot of people find their journey through music. Music is universal. And I don't know a lot of people that don't like music. I can't say that I even know one person that doesn't like music. I mean, obviously, we all like different genres of music, but I feel like it's definitely that equalizer when you think about how you interact with someone else, or even if it's something that you hear and it's not necessarily conducive to your ear, it makes you want to listen to see what you can gain from that. And so, would you say that you tell a lot of your story through your music, even if whether you're in church or outside of church?
Yeah, I'd like to say I would agree. Um, I hear things musically, and I love music. It's like people say, "Well, why don't you teach music?" Or I'm like, "You all, I don't. I didn't learn how. I didn't learn theory.
Gotcha.
I learned that being at church and fumbling around and being embarrassed and being told not to play, being told to get up. Church is probably the where my character was groomed even more. People saying church, oh, it's love, it's family, and this, that, and the third. You get more rejection as a musician playing in church. It's so competitive. You want to know? I thought football was competitive. No, playing at church, now that's competitive. Like people are like, it's Bay Area music, just anywhere, but this is just what I know.
Talk about that a little bit, because I don't know if you've seen this. There are a lot of reality television shows that are centered around not only the church, but also centered around the music scene, if you will, in church. And anybody that has grown up, I would say, especially in the Bay Area, but in the Church of God in Christ, whether you're Baptist, Seventh-day Adventist, whatever it is, you know that your musicians that are within the churches, they come with a level of, I mean, obviously, musically, it moves and helps tell the story or guide, as we're receiving the word. But then also, it is very influential. and who doesn't love a musician? So I know that you all are very popular for sure.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit, what that looks like.
Yeah, man, look here. I've been circling an idea of how I could capture the essence of the musicianship in the church, and I have to just start from my own eyes and coming into certain arenas, certain churches, whether it be a musical, whether it be a convocation, whether it be a meeting, a regular church service. You have these musicians from all walks of life. Some of them don't have jobs, some of them don't have education, but they are the most talented players you will ever meet. And when they come to church, they come with that idea that this is all I have. This is who I am. So I don't know about you. Maybe you have more to do when you leave here, but when I leave here, this is all I have. So they bring that grit and that competitiveness and that perfection, and they practice all day, every day. And you hear it in their playing because they're so sharp and they're they're very tactful in their playing, and you could tell the musicians that practice every day. That's all they do. And you can tell the ones who maybe don't have time to practice as much. Doesn't mean they're not good, but you could just tell the difference.
Well, it's
Um,
about honing your craft. And I think
yeah,
that goes across the board with anything, whether it's
yeah,
music or, if you're a doctor or a nurse or things like that. It's
yeah,
all in making sure that you're taking that time to hone your craft and literally tune
yeah,
into that. So I
yeah,
get that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you just get how I've seen it is the music, it 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 changes from area to area. So like in Belial, you have people where I grew up at in my area, we play a certain way. Sacramento plays a certain way.
Mhm.
And then you have the Bay Area, they play a certain way. And the Bay Area, there's a level of expectation that's higher than everybody because you've had the Hawkins who've laid the groundwork and foundation for uh, their their music was perfection. Their music was discipline. Their music was it was professional. It was clean, and it was shared all throughout the world, right?
Absolutely.
And so the musicianship, you can hear it in the musicianship in the Bay Area, how they play, and no one has been able to follow behind the Hawkins. So sadly, it kind of just went up the river. Like when they passed on, the forefathers, which is Edwin and Walter. Now I don't know if they didn't groom anybody to come behind them, or people just didn't latch on to what they were doing, or maybe there was more of a lack of um mentorship in terms of having a record company or distribution companies to cultivate these artists in this area and say, hey, I'm going to pick the ones I think can come behind us and keep this legacy going. I don't know where they failed at. I don't have enough information, but it's kind of sad to see you have a lot of independent artists out here, but they just haven't been able to match up to.
I think that kind of goes back to that discipline that we were just talking about. And when you hone your craft, and it does help to have that guidance, obviously,
Yeah,
and being embraced. And I will say this, and this goes across whether it is Christian music or secular based music. If you don't have that mentorship, that shows. If you don't have the drive to continue to perfect your craft, it shows. And then the other thing is that I think the listening audience has changed quite a bit. And I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, is that it is definitely guided by kind of, and I hate to say this, but things that are happening on social media. I feel like a lot, especially the younger, and I hate to even say that because it dates me and it kind of My kids accuse me of doing the millennialisms, but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
does. It's like, they're definitely a different breed, and they are, I guess, looking at even, and you tell me if this is the case. When we were coming up, and obviously you were happy to be able to play for your church, and especially if you're a featured musician on Sunday.
mhm,
Now it's about, we have these social aspects that come into that, what used to be a very sacred space. And now, because of the ability to reach people across the United States or across the world, now you have these other influences that are coming in, into this space, and so it definitely changes the landscape. Would you agree with that?
agree. The world has changed before our eyes, and when we had the Hawkins, and we had all of the Love Center and the
Yeah.
Music and Arts Seminar times, and when we had those times, we had Sheila Robinson on the radio. We had all these different workshops going around that circulated the Hawkins music and everybody else's music, and it gave way for other people to write. So now when you have church, you have the older generation who have not transitioned to online. They have not transitioned to social media. So when you got all this new stuff coming, and they look at it, this is blasphemy. What is this mess going on? You
Y'all dancing in the church, and you're
right,
yeah.
and it's like, well, if you look on social media, a lot of churches are putting their stuff up on social media, and they're doing the very thing that you are preaching against, or are protesting against. That they're doing that. So now it's just transitioning to the church, because the new generation of ministers, or praise and worship leaders, or Levites, they're looking at what other people are doing on social media, and they bring it to their churches, and now you have all this new stuff going on. Yeah, so it's
Just
kind
recognizing that you're bringing, I'll never forget, and I'm gonna kind of throw myself out there, but when I was in the Navy, and I wasn't not quite old enough to be in the club yet, but I can remember hearing Stomp in the club, and I was just like, and I was sitting there and I was like, wait, I like this. And then I was like, I'm sorry, say what now? And it was like, I was just like, ooh, okay. And then that was kind of my key, that I wasn't supposed to be in there. And then I was
yeah,
like, I'll never forget having that conversation with my mom and my sister, saying like, oh no, they play church music in the club, and then it was just like, but I recognize, even though, even for me, it was kind of like I took pause, but that just goes to show that you can bear witness anywhere.
yeah.
And again, that link is being musical, and that it goes across every, I don't care what nationality, what race, what sex, any of that. We all have that, universal language of music. So
It does. Music brings everybody together, inner genre, out of genre, it doesn't matter. It is the true universal language. And you know, it's brought me into different arenas, and when you talk about building character, you're talking about that moment where I went to college and that didn't work out with football. But I'm saying that I think I've had so many character building moments, and that was one. But becoming a musician early on and learning how to play, that took discipline, that took perseverance, it took focus, practicing for 8 hours a day. That's how bad I wanted it. If I would apply that to football when I got rejected, then maybe I would have made it in that arena, right? So I look at it like, this is what it takes, you know?
absolutely. I mean, again, that was your catalyst, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
into that music. And lo and behold, it was a white woman that taught you about the piano, which is white and black keys coming
Yeah.
together, and that's universal. I
Right,
mean,
right.
it's kind of symbolic when you think about it.
Universal language. It brings people together,
It does.
So wow.
Yeah. Well, let me kind of transition a little bit, because not only are you an amazing, you talked about your family a little bit, that you've been married for how many years? I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but I know it's over 20.
2028. Michigan.
28 years. So you and I are neck and neck in in
Neck
that
and neck.
regard.
Yes,
Yes.
neck and neck. Yes.
The other thing is that, obviously you're grounded in your faith and your family, and music has been, this central theme in your life, whether you were ready to embrace it or not. But that also, like you said, it has opened other doors. And so you are also a filmmaker.
Yes.
Please, let's talk about that a little bit, because let's face it, I mean, obviously, I'm a visual person, and I love to see music and film and art all come together, and you embody all of that. So tell us how we got to filmmaker.
Yeah. It was, it was funny. It was all happening while I was learning music. And it was like, wow, how fun and interesting would it be to put images to this music. And then I've always been skittish. Me and my brother, we make skits, and we would do different things, and we're always creating funny moments and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
you and your brother are both hilarious.
Yeah, just always being a creative mind. And so I just started screwing around with some stories, and writing, and trying to learn how to write scripts. And I'm like, I wonder if I can ever make a film, or do something visual now. So I'm just steadily evolving. But I started just studying the craft, and it was, I forget which Super Bowl it was. I think it was around, I can look it up, maybe the 94, 95 Super Bowl, somewhere around there. I found on Craigslist a Super 8 camera. And during Super Bowl Sunday, I went to Livermore, California, and guy lived far away. And I went it was during halftime. And I ran out there and grabbed that camera. That's how bad I wanted the camera. And I paid him
Wow.
$75 for it. And I came back, and made I wrote a small script, and I got some friends around to, it was my first little, but I shot it on Super 8, and I was like, wow, I really did this. I didn't put it out, but it was not bad.
Awesome.
Yeah. So from there, I just, like, I wanted to really get a little bit more, study a little bit more, study the craft a little bit more. So I just started going back to school, just to get back my degree. I had a chance to be in the screenwriting program with Richard Walter at UCLA, but I
Wow.
ended up getting married. We won't go there, but I had an
Well, I
opportunity.
have to say this. It sounds like you got the better end of the deal because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have an amazing family,
yes,
and
yes,
I can see influences from your early starts in sports and music all the way to where you are now, and all these different. I always like to say wonderful experiences, because even if it wasn't something that was necessarily rooted in positivity, the fact that you've overcome it and you've continued to move on, then
yeah,
it's a great experience. And
yeah,
obviously we're all about the experiences here.
yes,
So with
definitely,
that being said, I think it's a blessing, a blessing in disguise, actually. So
definitely. I'm a very blessed man, and that's the way it went. That's the way God intended it to go. So I accept that. I'm not going to fight against the prick. I'm not going to kick against. Um,
I gotcha.
so yeah, so after I got my undergrad, I went to St. Mary's and got my undergrad and got a degree. I was like, you know what? I think I want to get a master's in film study. I mean, in like study film, motion pictures and television. So I went to the local Academy of Arts there, and I went there for 3 years in their directing program, and boom, I've been off to the races since then. So but my love for filmmaking is the same as making music. Like, they're equal. Like, I really want to succeed in this, and find my niche, as they say, and be able to find my niche, and be able to become a creator in storytelling. So
Well, you
that's what I'm
definitely
doing.
are a creator across the board, but I think you are already, you have amassed that, if you will, and you just continue to grow. And I would love to talk about some of your projects that you have, starting with your most recent.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote a 4-part series. It's a crime drama. So I love this story because it evolved, the characters evolved after every episode, and it's wildly pulls you in right into the story. There's not too much longer of a pretense, if you understand what I'm saying. But anyway, Thicker Than Marriage I filmed during the pandemic. We were supposed to film in 2020, and pandemic hit, so we had to hold our production. But this is a story I wrote. It's about the two friends, the test of friendship, and both of the friends, they are both dealing with kind of like crisis in their life. One is in the throes of mental health crisis and depression, and as you know, I know I have family members and women in depression. You know how they have to battle depression, and whether it be from trauma, whether it be from um, you know um, post traumatic stress, um, or even postpartum depression. They
Mm-hmm.
suffer through those things. So the character, you have two friends, one named Bo and one named Kim, and they've been friends all their whole life. And Kim, she's the relationship girl. She's the one that's always in a relationship with a guy.
Okay.
And Bo, she's the artist. She's kind of like free spirit and kind of does what she want to do. But as she's battling through this depression, Kim is comes to her after thinking she killed her husband. She wants Bo to help her get rid of the body. Now, Bo is like, I wait. I just
I
got
didn't sign up for this.
right. I just got out of a psych ward, yo. I'm really kind of just I'm not in the space for this. But being a friend, she's begging her. She's thinking this is the only person that can help her, and she's been in an abusive relationship. She's this her husband has been violent with her.
Mhm.
So she impresses upon her friend and tries to manipulate her to come and help because, hey, my husband he abused me and I had to defend myself. So all the while when they get to the spot where they're going to possibly get rid of his body, there's another body in the trunk.
Okay.
And that's when we learn that her friend Kim is not only did her husband, but also the girl that he was involved with. So now there's more to process for Bo because Bo is like, hold on, you said it was just one body in the trunk. Now there's two, and now she's processing this whole thing of how did I even get here? How did I become um in this process of being a possible accomplice to murder? A friend of mine just told me that everybody is one situation away from being a killer or being involved in a situation where they have to murder somebody.
I think I agree with that because I was just at the grocery store and there was an incident. So I can attest to that. I could see that.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
a little homicidal.
yeah, these things happen, but this also speaks to friendship. Like, how far are you willing to go for a friend? Like, this is your bestie. You have a bestie, you
Yeah.
know. How far will you be willing to go? And you Oakland raised chick, so there might be some
Or
characteristics
it's
in
too
you
far, right?
where that might be willing to just like, hey, this is how we gonna do this. So it's kind of like just really getting people to look at the friendship and like, would you or would you not? Would you help her or would you walk away? And not be a part of it? Would you leave her hanging or would you reflect back on all of the things that you guys have been through together? And I'm gonna write this out with my bestie. I'm gonna be here for my best friend. And whatever she needs me to do, we're gonna do it. So thicker than marriage. Is your relationship thicker than marriage? Is it beyond that where you're willing to take a charge, where you're willing to go down with your best friend? So that's the first part of it, which I filmed and using currently as a fundraising tool to get to part two, which is called Semblance.
Okay.
And Semblance deals with the aftermath of this murder.
Okay.
So the young lady that was murdered with the husband, right? Her friend murdered two people. So now we come to meet the girl's parents in their grieving process.
Mm.
So we learn more about her and we see what the grieving process looks like. We see what trauma looks like. That's what semblance is. So we see what trauma looks like. So in my studying for this part two is now there Roxanne Atholtz. She is a professor from Berkeley, Berkeley School of Law. She did a study about homicides in Oakland, and it talked about the impact it has on victims and the families and how they live in impunity of
Mm.
justice, where these crimes never really get solved. They either get solved by private justice or retaliative justice or street justice, whatever, right?
Street justice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it kind of looks at how the justice system works and how the families they get re-traumatized through the process, So Semblance is focused on the detectives from the first part of the film. They're also in the second part of the film. Now they're trying to unpack this murder and find ways to solve it. But the only one who holds the key to this murder is Bo, who is the main character in the first film. And we come to find out more that the girl had a daughter who's missing, and they
There's
can't find.
multiple layers
There's
here.
multiple layers here, right? So only person who knows where the child is Bo, and everybody now is dead. Like, you have the husband and the mistress, she's gone. You had her best friend Kim. Her best friend Kim she gets murdered by someone else that did not want to be involved with this situation. Okay,
Mhm.
so the only one who holds the keys to this is Bo. So Bo wants to make it right. So Bo and goes and gets this girl from this where they're holding her at. And I don't know if you've heard of there's a case where that happened to where this rapper out here had a baby with a young girl, and basically the girl he was involved with, which is older girl, they came to the little girl's house passing off as just being friends. Oh, I want to see the baby. Is it okay if we can see the baby? We heard you had a baby. And they end up beating the girl up and burning her alive in her house and took the baby and
And
raised
this
it.
is a real story?
This is a real story. It's happened in
Wow.
Vallejo. Yeah. So there's
True
running,
crime.
huh?
I said that's true crime for
True
sure.
crime. True crime. So this is kind of like similar to that, but our character Bo has a chance to make everything right by going to get this kid and taking it to the police station because, like I said, she holds the cards and everything. But in a chance encounter, the grandmother is at this liquor store where she took the little girl to get something to drink, and she's going to take her and drop her off, and they come face to face with the grandmother.
Okay.
So it's called Semblance. I won't tell you how it ends, but it's a
No,
very
you can't tell us how it ends because right now you are in a full-on fundraising campaign.
yes,
So let's talk about that a little bit.
yeah, yeah. So the goal was to reach out to as many. I have a lot of friends who's like, hey, we want to help you. Just reach out, And I was like, okay, so let me just find a way to do a fundraiser, right? So
Hmm.
maybe if they know it's a fundraiser, then they'll just say, oh, it's a fundraiser. I'll just. So I used the film and I put it on my website at thickerthanmarriage.com, www.thickerthanmarriage.com. And you go up to the top and you can just hit donate and you donate. There's levels of donation.
Okay.
So
And what
there's
does that donation get you? Because I thought this was very ingenious of you. It wasn't just that you're donating to obviously a great cause in getting this second half of the film to fruition, but you also give your folks that are donating to you something. So what is
yeah.
it that they get?
So in the higher packages, you have platinum, and you have, so there's bronze, there's gold, there's silver, there's platinum, and there's titanium, right? Bronze is 25, silver is 50, uh, gold is 100, uh, platinum platinum is a 500, and titanium is 1,000. Okay,
Okay.
so anything over gold, everybody's getting a shout out, everybody's getting a t-shirt, right? That's the least that I can do for, but when you get to the platinum and titanium, which is 500,000, you have options for, well, you get executive producer credit, um, which
Which
comes
is
with,
amazing. I
yeah,
that when I saw that, I was just like, what?
yeah. Um, you get executive producer credit, and you get mentioned in all the press kit, as well as you have access to an NFT if you are into that. Like, a lot of people aren't in NFTs. A lot of people in our demographic, in our middle class, they're not into cryptocurrency, in which crypto is not doing good right now. But uh, uh, but if they're
The
into,
dollar is not doing good right now. So
right, but if they're into the NFTs, and they're into that, then this is a great opportunity to get in on that, and as well, points on distribution. So if I'm able to, which I'm currently entertaining right now with some people, is distribution through streaming companies. There's points and stuff that I would share as well. You have the opportunity to share points for a certain amount of time while it's streaming. So there's other opportunities there. So hopefully a lot of people just aren't into understanding how films are being made and how they're being distributed. So I want, if you're coming in under that donation, which is a platinum or titanium, then you're going to come into a whole nother world, so to speak. So just giving them opportunities to, to be a part of it on the back end as well. Yeah.
which I think is absolutely awesome. And the reason being is because a lot of times we take for granted. I think the pandemic taught us a lot of lessons. One being, we missed our TV looked different. I mean, once you had gone through a lot of the different, whether it's a show you were watching, we were going old school movie nights. I mean, by year two of the pandemic, we were like, okay, what's happening here? And I think it's awesome that you said that you did all of this creating during the pandemic, and knowing what goes into creating a film or any body of work is really important, because I think it helps you value that even more. But
Right.
when you're giving folks a bird's eye view of that, but then also you're giving them an opportunity to add, I mean, EP credit, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want to have that on their resume?
Right. I mean, I got to make it lucrative, because I think, out of all fairness, that, I mean, man, this is a huge opportunity for me as well to continue making films and creating a series. And it's equity. Distribution companies want equity. They don't want just one project, they want many projects. Well, I'm a writer, so I write,
Right.
I'm ready, I'm locked and loaded. So, as the opportunities come, hey, Berwyn, what else do you have? As they say, stay ready, So, I want people to know, if they come in with that, they're coming in with somebody who's I'm working, and steadily working, you know, doesn't
Let
stop.
me ask you this. Speaking of working, because you're so multifaceted in all the things that you do you happen to act in any of your bodies of work as well?
Well, I think in my student films, I think stuff that I've done as a student, I think I was in it more, but I think now I prefer to stay behind camera. If there's just a role that needs to be done, and I'll do it, but I don't like seeing myself on camera, so I prefer to stay behind, stay above the line, and you know.
Handsome guy like yourself, you should be on camera. Well, let me ask you this. How could someone like me get exposure or be able to act in one of your films? Not that I have any acting, under my belt, but
Yeah.
how do you seek out your actors?
Yeah. I know a lot of actors and I know a lot of people who know actors. So I tend to just pull there's been a few times I went through casting agencies,
Okay.
right? But I just, as a director, I just know a lot of people who act. So what I do is, I like to just I'm a personable guy. So if
You
I
are.
like you for something, say like I have an idea. I'm like, Cheryl, I have an idea and I think you might work well for this character. Usually it takes a little bit more vetting, right? Let's go get some coffee and then we can just talk about it. I like to talk over coffee or some lunch or something. That's me all day. Like I'm randomly, hey, what are you doing? Let's go get some dinner, or let's go get some lunch. It's not a date. It's like because I want to talk about a character and I need to see who you are in certain situations and
Hmm.
get your ideas on the character. So even if I do write a character, and know somebody who's like moderately acting to acting, I tend to I tend to get to know them on a personal level and kind of ask some questions regard something that would be similar to what's going on in the story, but
Right.
really their mindset and their psyche. I want to know where they're at mentally, and then that lets me know if they can receive direction or not. If they can, like Bo, her name is Diamond Brown. She goes by Diamond So Sexy, but I was like, I told her I don't feel comfortable telling people Diamond So Sexy, But she's a really cool person. But her name is Diamond. She's the main character in Thicker Than Marriage. She's never acted before.
Wow.
Yeah, like I think she's done some kind of like modeling stuff or
Right.
maybe
Right.
some but she's never like did a film before. So
Okay.
and it was the same thing with her. I just happened to meet her at a meet and greet at a photography studio and in Oakland. And where she was working there. And I just, just talked to her and I was just, hey, have you acted before? She's like, no, never been in any films or whatever. I was like, okay. Well, what do you do? I'm just talking to her. Okay, what do you
Right.
like to do? What are you into? Just getting her conversation, get her in conversation just to see where she's at.
Hmm.
And just from that point on, we just forged a relationship. And I sent her the script and I said, hey, let's talk again. And that's how I vet people out. I want to just see kind of like how they respond. So ask them questions. Hey, what do you think about this scene? Why do you think this character is responding this way? Or why do you think they're doing this? Or what do you think should happen? I just want to know where they're at. It
Right.
all plays into when we get in front of the camera, if they're able to get there or not. So that's kind of like my psyche with picking actors. So
I've heard some amazing stories come out of Hollywood about folks that were never actors and they had that someone saw that, I guess they had that je ne sais quoi, if you will, and we're like, I'm going to put you in front of this camera, and they just have this amazing synergy that comes out, across, and they embody the character. And I think I always hear that, obviously, through great direction you get these sorts of results. So there has to be something within you, like you said, that you hone in on something in this person, and then you're able to pull it out. So I would say, and this is just me putting on my psychology hat, is that you have a very high EQ when it comes to seeing certain character traits
yeah,
in someone in their everyday life that would matriculate into this amazing character
right,
on film. So
right.
props
That's
to
it.
you, Berwyn.
Thank you. That's the thing. That's a great analogy. I would say that it doesn't always work though. If you really like people may look like a character you see on screen, but some people just you have to take it a little bit further as a director. You have to really see where their mind is at. I like to see if people have attention span too, Cheryl. Like, do you have attention span to be in front of the camera? Are you all
No,
changing subjects?
I know, right? All over the place.
If you're all over the place, then I'm like, I'm not really sure. Gosh, Lee, they look like they're the part too, but if they have issues where they can't stay focused, then that's a red flag for me. So
Absolutely. Well, and there's a lot that's going on set that, as the viewer, you don't get to see because you're focused on the characters
Mhm.
and maybe the backdrop,
Mhm.
if you
Yeah,
will. But
yeah,
I have been on a few sets, and it can be very overwhelming.
yeah,
I know for me, I've done some pilot work, and I was just like, this is a lot. And you're right, because it takes that one moment. You can be right in the middle of a great scene, and I'm like this looking off, and and then they're like, no, got to do this again. And I mean, like, especially when you have that energy that's already there. So you definitely want someone that can not only remain in character, but definitely be focused. So I get what you're saying.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes.
She did a really good job. Kudos to Diamond. She was there. She was with me. So
Awesome.
it was all good. Yep.
That's awesome. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, we've talked about your latest project and how you have this fundraising campaign where, I mean, you can get EP credit. I said that's a win-win. End
Mhm.
up with an NFT EP credit and get a chance to not only view but be a part of something great. I feel like I'm saying this and I'm a little bit biased, but I have to say this from another standpoint too. I mean, I've known you for many years, and you have just been tremendous in all the projects that you take on. I love that we even started off talking about something when you have a focus or a direction, even in what some may say was failure, you come across and you've turned that, I won't even call it a failure, that roadblock, if you will, into something great. And it spawned a musical career, it spawned a career in film, and you're just a great connector of people. I can honestly say that there's pretty much no one Berwyn doesn't know, and if he doesn't know you, he's going to get to know you, that's for sure. Definitely no strangers when it comes to being your presence. What other projects do you have on the horizon?
Just right now it's really focused on getting semblance in production over the summer, meeting our our budget. That's really, really important for me right now. And so I am on another project. It is a web series called Average Johnson. And it's a director job for me that I'm going to be directing the series. So and that's going to be really funny because it's actually uh it's got Muppeteers in this live action joint about a guy who is in contact with his genitals
Oh.
after he experiences erectile dysfunction.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so his genitals come alive in a form of a Muppet, a Muppeteer, a penal Muppeteer, and we'll talk him through getting him out of his erectile dysfunction stage. So and
I love this, and I'm going to tell you why. You are hitting on topics that, and I'm just going to generalize right now, that are not easily discussed within our community. And I'm speaking in general about the Black community. I mean, you're talking about depression, you're talking about erectile dysfunction. And I mean, we all know Black men are very, and I'm generalizing when I say this, so don't beat me up, folks, but about their manhood. And not to say that any other man isn't, but I think we have a lot of things that are steeped in the Black male manhood. And so, with that being said, I think that's amazing that you're tackling these topics that are typically have been seen as taboo, if you will, um, in our community. So kudos to you for that.
thank you. I really feel that, when you mentioned the depression and erectile dysfunction, I think everything that I write has to deal with something that's going on in society. And I think that violence is a big part of our society, which my film series deals with violence, but it also deals with the human condition that goes on in that, how people arrive to violence, how people deal with depression, how do men, in Black men, especially in the Black community, deal with erectile dysfunction, and how that plays a part on their psyche, how that plays a part in their manhood daily, and even how exudes into their relationships, right? It's really big. So it's really exciting to be able to actually direct this project. So I'm really excited about it. So it's just getting off the ground, and the executive producer for it and the producers are really working hard to get the budget for that. But it's a Bay Area production as well. So there's some good things in the shoe, definitely.
I know that some of your work has included doing music videos and, other smaller projects. If you had an option, and I mean, obviously, you have some great projects that are in play right now, but what is your ultimate goal? Like, what is your ultimate film goal um, that you have, before you at some point?
There's a feature film that I wrote called
Okay.
Soul City, and I just want to be able to. It's a really big story, and it deals with the souls of people, how people are always looking for retribution, and
Mm.
in some way, form of another. And it's a very spiritual film as well. But my goal would be to get that produced, and I dream and think about that film every day, like to get that one done. And so these smaller projects are hopefully will get someone to recognize the equity in me and the work ethic in me to say, okay, we can bet on this guy, you know, to that time, God can connect me and to whoever. But that is my ultimate. That film is, I want to see that film made. I feel that film hasn't been made yet. And I think it's Tarantino that says, make the film that you want to see.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, that's the film I want to see. So it's just getting in place and being in position and being ready to, that's my ultimate project is seeing that get done. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. The other question I was going to ask you, who inspires you? I heard you mention Tarantino, but like who inspires you in film? Who inspires you in music? And if it's one and the same, uh, how did you get there?
Yeah, well, film. I have a few directors that really I kind of strive after. Like Tarantino's one of them, just for the sake of the content that he makes, and the kind of stories that he tell. I see myself in that vein. I tell really awkward stories that are really true to the human condition, almost really reality, right? But Tony Scott, may he rest in peace. He's kind of like my muse, the guy that I really, when I look at filmmaking, uh, Tony Scott is probably one of my favorite. And then definitely Denzel, not necessarily as a filmmaker, but as an actor, because I look at how actors prepare and where they have to go to get where they're at. I He's just one of like the ultimate actor I would love to work with one day.
He's amazing. I was just literally watching The Equalizer last night.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
watched that last night, and he's amazing because a lot of times, and again, I hate to, I always preface it with I may be generalizing, but for us in our communities, and it bothers me when they say, oh, it's a Black film, but we are in other films and it's not called a Black film, but whatever. But I love when you see him because you don't see that he's a Black, I mean, you see obviously he's a Black man, but you don't, that doesn't jump off. He can act in anything, I feel like. And it transcends color and sometimes even gender. And when I say that, he is a force to be reckoned with. And even watching The Equalizer again, I've probably seen the film 2 or 3 times
yeah,
prior to last night, and I see something new.
yeah.
And he's an amazing actor. I really am impressed with his skills and just how he comes across. I feel like you
Mhm.
know he could pretty much do anything. And then he's not hard on the eyes either. So
Yeah,
then there's that. So
yeah. um, did you see Macbeth?
I saw, well, not the movie, but I saw Macbeth at Moscone Center in San Francisco. I'm gonna date myself. It was back in the 90s.
Hmm.
But I haven't seen any adaptation of Macbeth as of recent. So, but that's an
Den,
interesting story, though, for sure.
Denzel and Francis McDermott did the film,
Oh, okay. See, I
and
didn't
it
even know that.
yes, I think it's on Max, HBO Max, one or two. But I
Okay.
just watched it for the sake just to watch him transition into this role. I've seen him do a lot of roles, but by far, he's done like every. I think he's just about been in every role.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he never gets typecast, which I absolutely love that.
Right, right, right. But
Yeah.
it just kind of speaks to how have actors have to really understand the objective of a character and who they are as a person, which
Mhm.
is why when I talk to people who want to act, I get personal with them. I want to know who they are. Now I don't want to know you as a character. I want to know you who you are so that I know that you'll be able to relate to the character. If you can't relate to the character, then you're wasting everybody's time, and you're not going to be able to really understand what's the role needs and the commitment it needs. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Well, this has been awesome talking to you about basically, I feel like I've learned so many new things. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about having this platform is like, it's all about the experiences. It's people that I've known for many, many years, or people that I've recently come across, or people that I don't even know. But I feel like I
Hmm.
walk away um, more enlightened, not just about their life, but it makes me think about things that I'm doing and what my next moves are, and what if ever I get an opportunity to be on film or something like that. But
Yeah, yeah,
I say all that to say I appreciate you sharing your story, talking about this amazing project. Please let everybody know how they can not only find out more about you and this project, but also that fundraising, because we need those fundraising dollars to come in, because this is a story that we need to
yes,
hear more about and see on the big screen. So
yeah,
tell us how we
definitely.
can find that out.
Definitely. The fundraiser is at www.thickerthanmarriage.com. That is my website. You go up to the top and it says donate and watch, and you can pick your level of donation. And if you just say, you know what, I want to support him, but I don't want to watch, but I do want to support him, you can cash at me at Berwyn Hutch, Berwyn Hutch, Hutch. That's at Cash App. And yeah. So my IGs at thicker underscore marriage. No, I'm sorry, thicker underscore than underscore marriage underscore film. That's
Don't worry,
Instagram.
I'm going to make sure that this is all posted.
Okay.
So we'll have all
Yeah,
of these links available, because we need those donation dollars coming in,
I
because
appreciate it.
this is there's something to be said about being able to share. And I love the subject matter that you have. It's entertaining, but beyond that,
Yeah.
this story is deep rooted in telling people, and I'm assuming, and you let me know this, but touching on subject matter that is not easily discussed. And I think sometimes when you see something kind of in an entertainment form, it makes it easier to process and have those hard conversations. And and through those hard conversations, we can move forward and move forward through your pain or whatever your roadblock is. And I think that is amazing that you're providing that through this medium.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah. That is this is an awesome opportunity. I really appreciate this. And hopefully people will see the value, you know.
Well, if they don't, shame on them. And I will
Mhm.
say this. I am very honored to have you on my platform. But beyond that, I'm very proud of you, Berwyn. I've known you since we were teenagers, and to see just your growth, and you're one of those people that are in my life that I think about when they set their mind to something, they do it. And even again, as we started off talking, you were talking about some roadblocks that came up in your way, but through that, you ended up taking on something even more completely different, but amazing.
Yeah.
And I know we didn't touch on this, but you are also a businessman, and through your businesses, you are making a difference in the surrounding communities. And I hope that you will come back on the platform and we'll talk more about your businesses, and then
Yes.
also, the release of the film, and go from there.
We have equity in discussions, endless, a lot of things going on. So I'll be glad to be back. Definitely.
Well, that makes me very happy. Again, thank you. And to everyone that's tuning in, whether you're listening or watching this video, I am so happy that you're here and that you took time to learn a little bit more about Berwyn and his projects. And also, I think the going theme here is that no matter what you set off to do, and no matter what path you end up taking, if there's some roadblocks there, there's always another way, and there may be another blessing at the end of that roadway. And so, again, Berwyn, thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for talking about some topics that are not necessarily easy to discuss. And one of the things that I always, end with is, you see a lot of folks and you think they're strong and they're going through something privately. Check on your strong friends. There's something to be said in that. I'm one of those strong friends. Check on me too, because, I have my moments and my days. But being surrounded by people like yourself in my life, it has definitely led to me trying to be as tenacious as possible and bring awareness to a lot of different subject matter. And in doing so that, I get to share my experiences and yours. So with that being said, take good care of each other, but more importantly, check in with yourself and go donate to Berwyn's project. And I will definitely have those links posted below. And we look forward to having you and welcome you back on the platform very, very soon.
Yeah.
And go right ahead.
I said I'll be there.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.